is our focus on cancer insurance specifically. CARE stands for Cancer Insurance, Awareness, Resources, and Education. So a lot of what we do is the resource and education side, but we focus on helping people once they also get that diagnosis. So if they have a cancer plan, we help them with the claims process. Or if they didn't get a cancer plan, we help them with resources that are out there available to everyone, but you might not be aware of it. So we're trying to highlight those for everybody.
Awesome.
But we do spend a lot of time talking about other ancillary products because working with cancer insurance is very similar to working with like a hospital indemnity. So this is one that I bring up and talk about all the time, especially the pairing of the two, because we get agents that are like, yeah, I want to do hospital indemnity. I'm like, but also cancer insurance.
Yeah.
How can we make this work?
Absolutely. So let's just go to our first point here, so that way we're all on the same page. For the people who might be new here or haven't really dived too much into cancer insurance, what is cancer insurance?
So cancer insurance is going to not only help take care of any medical bills they might have. So with a med sup person, obviously we're looking at a lot less of that cost, but it could help out paying like premiums because it's paid to you. You can spend it however you want.
It's an indemnity.
Exactly. So this leans on, the other thing leads onto the other side of that is any non-medical costs that come up, which this is part that I talk about a lot as someone who had cancer myself. I didn't have cancer insurance. I had pretty good group coverage, but then I got to see all of the other costs that like you don't think about whenever something like that happens to you. So getting cancer insurance not only helps pay any bills that you might have, but also take care of all the extra stuff that you're not immediately thinking about.
Absolutely. And then for hospital indemnity, could you kind of explain a little bit? This has turned into an interview,
Yeah, I like
Clayton. You're a product king. So what can you explain briefly what a hospital indemnity is?
Yeah, so a hospital indemnity is going to be very, very similar in the fact that it's going to pay you money to do whatever you want with it. Now, a hospital indemnity plan, majority of the time is going to be paired with the Medicare Advantage plan because they are built to do so. So a hospital indemnity plan is, say you go to the hospital for, let's say, 3 days. You set a dollar amount for how much money you want each day that you're in the hospital. Typically, that would line up with your Medicare Advantage plan. So any of those copays that you might have for those first few days in the hospital, you have a chunk of money. It basically is helping take care of that risk factor with the Medicare Advantage.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people on supplements like it because they pay this amount and they know what they're paying.
Right.
Now, a Medicare Advantage plan, a couple of the big things that will help you hit that MOOP, stay in the hospital and getting a cancer diagnosis. So that's why I love the pairing of this, because we know that we're going to have a solution to the problem. And one of my favorite phrases I actually got from my buddy Colby, who works over our sister company, SBS, that said, you don't have to have insurance for everything, but you do have to have a plan. And these are two products where I'm okay if somebody walks away with an appointment without these two products, as long as we have a plan.
Yeah.
If we don't have a plan and they don't take a cancer insurance, they're leaving themselves very vulnerable to either financial devastation with a cancer diagnosis or just a big old bill whenever they get out of the hospital. And neither of those are fun.
Absolutely. I feel like that kind of segues us pretty well into the next slide, but more of like the bottom sort of bullet point here. It's just, in short, it's giving you coverage where core products do not. And again, they don't have to leave your office having those products, but as long as they know that they have these holes in coverage, and they also are going to have unexpected non-medical costs as well that they might want help covering. Just having that conversation, cross-selling allows you to give them the information that they didn't know they needed.
For sure.
Sort of thing.
That's something that we talk about a lot with this, is the closing ratios on this versus your core product are also going to be much lower.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Yeah. But you want the people to know about all the products you offer, so they never come back to you and say, hey, I got a cancer diagnosis. What do we do about this?
Right.
It's like, well, we had to take care of it earlier. We're too late.
Yeah.
And I hate that aspect, where I'd much rather people just talk about it, just have the conversation. Something, again, on the CARE initiative that we do is talk about ways to bring it up. It's very conversational. It's not like, do you want cancer insurance?
Yeah.
It's like, we going through the process. We won't get into that part today, but that's something I know in those resources we'll send out is about the CARE. So if you want to talk, even if it's about hospital indemnity, you can sign up there. We can schedule a time to get that going.
Yeah.
But the other aspect is, I think we're kind of working in reverse.
Yeah, we're kind of working our.
So just hang with us, because the value add is something I really like with this too. Is just it's going to separate you from somebody who just got them the Med Sup or got them a Med Advantage.
Right.
Is like, you want to make sure anything that they might need, you could take care of. So a lot of agents I work with either do life insurance or P&C. They're already thinking that way, but there's more products to be able to offer.
Absolutely.
And the biggest pushback I hear is, like, I already got a lot of product lines that I work with. Like, I don't want to necessarily go out there and tear the world up with doing cancer insurance. And I'm like, I get that. Just mention it.
Yeah.
Just let them know you do it. It can be as passive as a postcard or on your newsletter, a brochure in your waiting room or your office area. And then just in conversation, you're talking through benefits, which we'll get into, of when to talk about these, but get into those, and you have that opportunity just to mention it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that sometimes as insurance agents, we can fall into the habit of just being order takers. People come in. Sometimes people fall into that because they're scared of coming off too salesy, especially if you're someone who hasn't been doing this for a long time. That's a lot of pushback that we also hear is, well, cross-selling just makes me feel too salesy. It makes it, they came in for this is what they want. But if you're offering products like this, again, like we have heard stories, real life stories, even people that work for senior marketing specialists that sold insurance in the past, like things have happened to them where people do come back into their office and say, you were supposed to take care of me. Like, do you have cancer insurance? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, well, now it's too late because I have cancer.
Yeah.
And so it's whenever it comes to that, it's also adding value to your agency. That's just because you want to be an advisor, not an insurance agent. And one thing that makes you different as an advisor is building a holistic benefit package, making sure that you are taking care of the healthcare aspect of their insurance the best that you can.
Yeah.
And so it's your job to let them know. It's not your job to make them say yes. It's your job to let them know that this is an option, and then they can choose yes or no. Then it's not on you, and you can rest assured. But that's a big difference in being like an order taker and being an advisor.
If y'all are note takers, I think that's a great note to take away. Is like, you're building a benefit package that you're not necessarily having to deliver every parts of that.
Yeah.
Think about when you go onto Amazon, they already start suggesting things that people who bought this also bought this. You're the same way.
Right.
You want to talk with them of like, hey, my clients who are on a Medicare Advantage plan typically like to look at and it's like, people are so used to that process.
Right.
Like, I instantly was just like, yeah, no, Amazon always asks me, do you want these other things? I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
But without asking, I wouldn't even think of like, I just got this is off topic a little bit, but I just got a new Amazon Echo Dot thing.
Oh yeah.
Because I had the old like Puck one that was like, it's crap. So I needed to upgrade it. But I didn't think about, oh, I need to get another stand for this thing.
Yes.
Do I need another charger? Do I have that? Like, there was things that like just made me think, and I was like, oh wait, no, I've got another charger, but I do need another stand. So it's like, put that into the insurance world to kind of bring this back a little bit, because this is what I always end up doing, is like, I'll talk about something random, it goes somewhere, I promise. It's like, okay, so I had a plan for my charger. Like, I already had the block, I didn't need to get another block.
Right.
But I didn't have a plan for where am I gonna put this thing? So I needed to get the stand plug in, plus it looks super nice.
It just looks nice.
So it's like, I wanted these things to be taken care of. Think about it in insurance as, you wanted to go through this, be like, no, I actually have a cancer policy that I had from way back in the day. Like, great, cool, we can move right past that. But I wanted to make sure that you're taken care of.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it just comes down to, you don't have to make them say yes. The goal is to not make them say yes. The goal is to educate them.
Yeah.
And like let them know what they might be missing in their coverage. That's just what it comes down to.
Right.
Making reviews, we literally are going from the bottom to the top. Might as well just keep the trend.
Just go with it.
It makes review appointments profitable. So I think that's one thing. Sometimes people are like, well, I know that I need to do this. Or even worse, they say, I don't really do review appointments because they're not worth my time. I don't really get anything out of it, money-wise. And so cross-selling can be a really great time. We'll get into that in just a minute. But so it's kind of a preview for that. But it can make those appointments that you feel are like necessary evils, like it can make them profitable.
Which is the first 2 bullet points, is you're trying to make these reviews profitable. Like, you need to be doing it. However, it's like, let's try to make some money while we're doing this. And the 2 main reasons is it's going to help with your client retention, because 3 products is that magic number. So you get the core product, and then depending on what core product they're with, you're looking at how you can bundle it. Today, we're focusing mostly on Medicare Advantage because the hospital indemnity plan is perfect. But you say an MA plan, hospital indemnity, and a cancer plan. Those people over a 5-year span are looking at 92%, 92, 93. Either way, it's in the 90s.
Above 90.
Above 90% retention rate over a course of 5 years, versus if you're only holding on to that one product, especially Medicare Advantage, you're looking at closer to like a third of your clients staying on the books over a course of 5 years if you that's all you do with them and leave them alone.
A lot of times when we talk about this point, we give like the Apple example, where it's like, you get one thing, you get the iPhone, and then you're like, oh, well, I kind of want an iPad. It would like work well with my iPhone. And then you're like, oh, well, I need to get a MacBook for whenever I need to get the Apple Watch because it works with my phone and all that sort of stuff. So you pair these things that work together, and the next thing you know, there's like a new thing, the cool Android watch or something like that comes out, and you're like, I can't get that. I'm an Apple person now because I have all of these products with them. Why would I switch over to someone else? And so Apple's a perfect example of that. But it is like, it shows if you have at least 3 products, those people are stuck. We call them sticky clients. They're stuck to you.
One of our favorite webinars that we do together.
We love the sticky webinar, or not sticky webinar. We just have like honey and like different things.
It is very sticky honey vibe with that webinar.
So anyway, this is why to cross-sell. Honestly, we could spend all day on this slide. We really, really love cross-selling. But let's dive into why you should pair, why an appointment you should bring up both hospital indemnity and cancer. Also, I don't know why there's question marks on here. So
is it the same?
Is it? Those should be more like exclamation points, but whatever, we're rolling with it.
The fact-finding process is the same for both? It is.
It is.
So while you're going through your fact-finding process, again, focusing on Medicare Advantage today is you're not looking at asking medical underwriting questions, because that's not what we're doing here, but you're kind of getting what their concerns are, or you're looking at their medications, and you could try to help figure out, what are these medications for? What are we trying to make sure that we're protecting from with your coverage?
Right.
And kind of going into family history and looking at, is there anything that we need to make sure, like, okay, well, this plan might be better, but there's a really good cardiologist on this plan. If you have family history of a heart problem, maybe we need to look over here. So you're doing all of this fact finding already. You're trying to gather data or gather information to make sure that whatever you're offering is going to be a good fit for them, or the things that they need to be aware of. Now, the reason we look at pairing is, especially during AEP, we know time is of the essence. There's a little time window we have to enroll. You're very busy, and enrollments and appointments just keep flowing. And we want that. We want you guys to be able to do all of that. We don't want to bog you down with like, write 12 different apps while you're at that appointment. It'd be great, but it's going to be very time consuming. And that's one great benefit of pairing a plan together. And the other thing with that is, it's looking at it as they have one product where they're not necessarily, the client's not worried about doing multiplication, or like, well, I have this through United Healthcare, I have this through Aetna, and this through GTL. It's like, then they get confused of what's where. So it can make it a little simpler for the client.
For sure,
and Sadie added this perfect note here of that if you choose to do it this way, just make sure you're educating your clients that these are tied together, that if you cancel one, you're canceling both and they go away. So that is something we just want to make sure that education's on there. If you're doing that part, I feel that there is nothing wrong with doing it together.
Yeah.
The only worry I have is somebody's like, well, I haven't gone to the hospital in like 3 or 4 years, so I've been paying into this. I'm going to go ahead and drop it.
Yeah.
But they wanted to keep their cancer insurance and didn't think about it. They just called the number on their card and canceled the plan.
Yeah.
So if you're telling them like, hey, like these are together, so hopefully like if we ever need to look at something, let me know. Let's talk about that so we can help get that canceled or help you with any questions you might have on the product.
Yeah.
Because just like every other product, you don't want them calling the carrier. You want them calling you. Same idea with these products.
Yeah, exactly. Call me. We'll figure it out. Because yeah, sometimes people they're like, well, I don't really want this hip product anymore, but I do want the cancer or whatever it may be. Just say, make sure that you call me. But we see a lot of agents do this. Actually, a lot of people who are starting to sell hospital indemnity for first time, we also see their production in cancer go up too, because they realize like how easy it is. And we'll kind of talk about that. It's different with different carriers, but there are certain carriers where it's literally so easy. It's like, yeah, you're filling out the HIP plan application, and then you just press one button to add cancer. Like, it's so easy. So it makes it way easier on you, which if it's easier on you, you'll sell more, you'll bring it up more, which is important. Your time is valuable too. And it's a lot easier, honestly, for your client as well. Okay, now we're going to kind of dive into the 3 examples of a really good time to cross-sell, specifically both of these things. So the first thing that we have, because we're kind of in this era right now, is the Q1 follow-up. So essentially what this is you just had AEP, you got people on their plans, all that good stuff. You should be doing Q1 follow-ups to make sure that people are enjoying their benefit. Well, I guess we'll kind of get into this. It is a touch point after AEP. It's very, very important. Sometimes people set it and forget it, but that's one of those things where it's like, okay, are you an advisor or are you an agent? Are you an order taker? Did you just want the sale and then leave them alone? Or are you going to check in and make sure that what you just sold them on
is still working
for them? That way they don't go to someone else, or again, like call Medicare or something like that.
For sure.
So solid touch point after AP.
Yeah, and we talk about 7 touch points being the kind of the magical number. And to start your year off right with already getting 1 knocked out is a great way to do this. This is the next bullet point here: protect your book during OEP. Is one of the most important reasons why the Q1 touch point is the best. We know at AEP, you sign someone up in October, you talk to them closer to Thanksgiving, and they've enrolled with somebody else and didn't really mean to. You have a chance to fix that. Not during OEP. OEP would be this already the last app. The last app doesn't win. It's one and done.
Yeah.
So if your client does make this switch and it's not the best switch for them, that's the plan they're going to be on for the rest of the year.
Right.
So talking through about just what plan you're on, making sure the benefits are working out for you, and then sprinkle in like, hey, while we're reviewing this, looking at these few different things.
Yes.
So let's kind of work through our kind of quotes here of our examples of things people reach out to them. Is a lot of the times we know we're reordering cards, we're struggling to get those cards sent out to clients from the carriers. So you're calling to check on your clients like, hey, I know getting that card was important for you. Did you already receive your card? Yeah, I did. Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm so happy you got that. I'd love to make sure this plan's working for you. Did you get set up with the benefit what benefit sold them on the plan? So example this year is Aetna's Smart Fit plan had the fitness reimbursement. So talk with them like, hey, I know you were really excited about that fitness reimbursement. Have you looked at purchasing those golf clubs we talked about? And it's like, you're kind of going through, I mean, again, this is why CRM is so important, is going through what sold them on that plan. And then it's like, okay, great. You got everything taken care of with that client. Be like, hey, I just want to kind of review a couple things. I want to remind you about this max out of pocket and kind of a couple quick ways that we're going to hit that. And while you're going through, it's the same thing as we talk about while you're at that AEP appointment, but maybe this is new for you, so you're trying to add it in.
Yeah.
Is let's go through your summary benefits just super quick. You know what your plan's at, but we're looking at this SMOOP, reminder of that. Here's your co-pays for seeing the doctor, and a couple quick ways that we're going to hit that MOOP is with a hospital stay, which is, let's say, $300 for the first 5 days. And chemotherapy is you're paying 80% of that, or 20%. I always get those backwards. 80-20.
Yeah.
One way.
20%.
Yeah. So you're gonna hit 20% of a chemotherapy is, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So you're looking at, okay, here's the fastest way I hit the MOOPs. And while you're telling them that, be like, I do have products that can help take care of those with you as far as hospital stays go and cancer insurance goes. Lay it out there.
Yeah. And I actually recommend, I think this is a perfect time to say, hey, I took care of your core products during AEP. Kind of explain like those differences, especially people who are kind of like last minute people who you didn't feel like you had the time, and then say, I actually like to pair this hospital indemnity plan with the product that I just put you on, with that Medicare Advantage plan. So it's just a nice like, hey, now you kind of understand a little bit how your plan works, those gaps that you have. I like to pair this product with that.
Yeah, again, going back to the Amazon approach of saying, you know, a lot of my clients that are on Medicare Advantage are interested in these couple products that can help take care of that and help alleviate some of the risk or concern with the max out of pockets.
Yeah.
That's what I think the first quarter follow-up is mainly about, is did the benefit that they got signed up with work for them? Are they okay or fine with any risks or costs that would be associated with that plan? Because that's going to be the biggest complaint they have for you is, well, this plan sounded great. It had really good benefits, but then I went to the hospital. I'm in March and I've already forked out $500-600.
Right.
Like it doesn't, you know, like I had a med sup. I didn't pay that until the middle of the year. Like, what do I do with this? It's like you're talking through of just mitigating risks, trying to minimize all of their exposure to this max out of pocket at a more controlled or a pace that they're aware of.
Yeah.
You know, as far as like a hospital indemnity costs them $30-50. They know they're paying that every month and don't have to worry about all of a sudden have to come up with $300-500, because we know a lot of the seniors are on a fixed income, they're on Social Security, that they're retired. This is the money that they're making. They have savings, but you don't want to have to burn through all of that when you get a cancer diagnosis or have to go to the hospital.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
What we got next, AD?
What we got next is the annual review. This one is probably the most self-explanatory one on here. Of course, during your annual review, this is going to be the time of year where you're like, okay, let's sit down, let's deep dive into the coverage that you have now. This is a really great time to kind of go through that fact-finding process. If you don't have a fact-finding process, that's a webinar for a different day. Give us a call at Senior Marketing Specialist. We want to talk to you, because Olivia, she does like a lot of webinars here. She's a vice president here. She says all the time, and I love this, that 100% of cross-selling happens in the fact-finding process. So it's so important that you have a process for fact-finding, and you can do that in certain appointments. That's a different conversation for a different day. But annual reviews are going to be the main way with your current clients that you are going to be able to fact find, look into that. You're already diving deep into their med sup, already diving deep into their Medicare Advantage plan. You're talking about, okay, what worked well for you this year? What didn't work well for you this year? Do you want to change anything? Are you comfortable? La, 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 all that sort of stuff. So it is a perfect opportunity and there's a lot of opportunity because you're seeing so many people and talking about all this. So it's just a perfect time to say, okay, there's a gap there. I have a product, let's stick it right there.
Yeah, I think this kind of goes back to the last one, is like, while you're already reviewing these kind of coverages and what they have currently, you're plugging in that, like, again, reminder, a lot of my clients that are on this plan, do look at something like this. It's out there, it's available. We can kind of go into that if it's something you're concerned about. And while you're talking through kind of the highs and lows of their last year with their plan, you're taking mental notes of, okay, yeah, they went to the hospital, like maybe we should look at this. So you all know, when we talk about products, we'll talk about guaranteed issue windows. So like if they did go to the hospital, they still got options, don't worry.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. Ready to move on to the next one? I feel like the
Annual
annual review is pretty.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, most of the time this is their appointment during AEP.
Yeah.
That's their annual review.
Right, exactly.
You're not making a separate annual review outside of the time where you're going to want to change the plan for the rest of the year. It's like,
right.
You get it.
Now's the time.
Yeah.
And then client and prospect check-in. So this is for people who are kind of AEP stragglers. People did kind of like the quarter one follow-up, but not following up again saying, hey, I didn't see you.
Yeah.
I didn't hear from you. Or people who come to you and are like, you call them a bunch of times trying to remind them of AEP, and they come to you and they're like, all right, let's get a new plan. You're like, dude, you've already missed the window.
Yeah.
Just checking in with those people who are a little too late for AEP. That's a great time to do all of it because you have the time compared to AEP. There's a little less pressure in how long you can take in each appointment. So great time to talk about it. Say, hey, while you're here, we're looking through this, because most likely you didn't do an annual review with them. That's kind of the time to do that annual review and say, okay, let's sit down and let's talk about this.
The other thing is thinking about your problem children that got you to their drug list late in December, if ever. And it's like, okay, well, we can't do much about that. And then to the other point is, you have OEP. So if you missed them, you're talking to them in that quarter one follow-up, trying to reach out. But as we know, a lot of people, it's hard to get them on the phone. It's hard to line everything up. So let's say they miss OEP even, and they're on a plan that's max out of pocket is just not in the range of what's normal anymore. Like it could be a plan that's been a year or two on there, and they should have switched last year, but they're like, yeah, it's fine. I like it. It's okay. Now we're a couple years removed, and let's say they're at like a $7,000 MOOP, where everything else is like a $5,000, $3,000, $5,000. It's like, okay, you have a plan. We can take care of this in AEP next year. But what we need to do now to help lessen some of this risk or exposure to that MOOP is these couple products that can be the fastest way we'll get to that $7,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, then there's your plug-in right there. And if they're okay with the risk, they have a plan because they do have the Medicare Advantage plan. So it's not going to be like an insane cost.
Right.
However, you want to make sure that they're aware of that there is better options out there in the MA world.
Yes.
Here's what we can do in the meantime. And it will still work out with your next plan, and they kind of get used to that process now.
Yeah, absolutely. Just educating them. That's our job here, is just educating them. MedSup clients too, if you didn't see them during AEP. So sometimes we recommend that you see kind of all of your clients during AEP, or at least do those annual reviews to see what MedSup clients you do need to see during AEP and whatnot. But sometimes people save their MedSup clients for January, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So just checking in with those MedSup clients saying, hey, just want to make sure that you're comfortable with this. Did you stay at the hospital? I know that it covered all your medical costs, but were there any extra sort of costs that you had that you weren't expecting that maybe you might want some coverage? Again, it's not super common to pair hospital indemnity with a MedSup, but it's not unheard of. Sometimes people just want that extra cushion, and you're just letting them know, I have this if you want it.
So here's a good example I thought of after we talked about this. We were kind of talking about like it doesn't pair perfectly. It's an option, yes. You want to kind of make sure that they're aware of that, because a lot of times MA folks or people on a MedSup would love to go to Medicare Advantage, but the hospital is far away. So they're in a more rural area, and then the hospital's way over here. It's like, okay, I'm gonna need to board my dogs. I'm gonna need to have my spouse come and stay, and she's not gonna want to stay in the little bed couch that they've got. Like that might not be the option. So maybe it's an Airbnb or a hotel room that they might have to stay at the hospital with you. And it's like, you want that support system. If they're in a MedSup and have to travel like that, that's where you could start looking at a hospital indemnity plan. Maybe just set the volume or the amount a little bit lower, like $100 or $200 a day. Keep that premium low, since they're already paying a monthly premium with their MedSup.
Yeah.
But again, it's talking about just options of what works best. Y'all know your clients way better than I do.
For sure.
So just kind of keep that in the back of your head for people that might have to travel a good amount to go to whatever hospital they prefer. Because MedSup people aren't tied to any specific network.
Right.
They could be like, oh, I'm gonna go see this doctor up in St. Louis and in Columbia. It's like, yeah, it's a couple hours away. What are you gonna do with your animals? I don't know.
Right.
It's like, not everybody has that family friend or someone that could take care of it. So like, be aware of their situation. Again, that's in the fact finding process of like, hey, like, do you have any family members that live that could help you out if you
Yeah.
had to go to the hospital?
And you know, a lot of those situations, it is kind of like this would be a good time, like in quarter 1 sort of thing, because a lot of times in situations, if they are wanting that extra coverage that at first isn't super necessary, it's because they just went through something and were like, oh nuts, I just had a hard time with this certain thing. You're like, well, actually we can pair this together if that. So it's just for those people that want that extra cushion, maybe went through it and were like, ooh, we were kind of uncomfortable with certain costs. So
yeah, I'll call myself out, just cancer insurance, of me going through a cancer diagnosis, being like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
And then being like, okay,
yeah.
what do I do to get on one of these cancer insurance plans? Explain. That was one of the first things I tried to figure out when I started working here.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a good clarification, actually. The comment that I just made about, ooh, people that went through it, that was more the hospital indemnity for meds up, but cancer, you can always.
I'll do the same thing with dental insurance. Of like, oh crap, I had to go get my tooth extracted. That cost me a bunch of money. The final expense, like, oh, I had a family member pass away. We didn't really know what to do. It's like all of these things people don't think about usually until it's too late.
They need it.
Like it's too late. You needed that product in place, but you didn't have it. What do we do about it now?
Right.
The what do now?
What do now?
I don't know how many thousands of times I say that throughout the day. I'm like, okay, this is fine, but what do we do now?
What do now?
And what do now is my favorite way to say it.
And then old leads pre-T65. So these are people who you don't have on the books that you've talked to before, that of course are in that window of that permission to contact. But, and then people who are not quite 65 yet that you've reached out to and they're like, I don't need to talk to you yet. These different products, they have underwriting ages that go below 65, of course. That's one benefit to ancillary products. But yeah, you can get them on the books during before AEP, so that way you can talk to them about.
So you don't need another permission to contact.
Exactly. That way you are able to get them on the books. They have a cancer plan, and then you're able to talk to them a lot more freely whenever AEP comes on.
Yeah. So something I think in consideration with this is like, maybe you bought a good amount of leads during AEP thinking like, okay, cool, I want to make sure I have enough clients. And there's a stack at the end that you didn't get to, or a stack of people you reached out to but never answered. You want to start to call on them again while you still have that time. You want to tell them about that. They might already be on the best product. And that's honestly one of my favorite things about this is you can tell them and reassure them like, no, you're actually perfectly fine. And not take it as such like a negative, like, dang it, I just spent this money on this lead. I'm not gonna get anything back out of this. Like, you're on a perfectly fine plan. When I sign somebody up on a plan like that, I like to pair it with, and we get it back into this is what I like to do for those. Is that something your agent talked to you about? Oh, it isn't? Okay, let me explain.
Yeah.
Like that's where you get a client for next year, because that person's like, okay, he explained everything to me in all these different aspects. I'm gonna go back to him.
Yeah.
And the pre-T65, that is hard to say.
I know, pre-T65. Whenever I was saying it first, I was like, did I say that right?
So here we are in February. Somebody turned 65 in August, and you want to call them before to remind them like, hey, still got you on the books. I want to make sure you had that appointment still down. You know, something that we could look at is what current coverage you had with your group, so we're more prepared for our appointment, and start taking some of that information down. And if they're like, well, yeah, I had a cancer plan, or I had a plan where if I went to the hospital, help take care of any of those costs, you'd be like, cool, I have that as well. We can either take care of that now or at our appointment in August.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can start planting those seeds very early, especially as you're just trying to make sure they've got that call. Because like, that's not a money-making call unless you ask about other things. And you don't have to ask about it. It's a conversation of just like, so what do you have on your group plan that we want to make sure we have over here? Just so I have everything prepared for our meeting in August.
Yep. Brilliant.
That's it.
Okay, guys, we've talked about the what, the why, the how, and now we're going to talk about the who.
The who.
So,
did you hear there's an owl in the office?
In the office?
Yeah, like somebody in the office is an owl.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
You're supposed to say who.
Oh, who?
Anyway,
that went right over my head. I'm gonna be honest with you. Glad we're recording. That was but carriers. You're the product dude. I'm gonna let you take this slide.
Okay.
But These are two of our favorite as far as their
pairing.
cancer and yes, the pairing.
Yeah, these are the chef's kiss of pairing hospital indemnity and cancer insurance. I'll start with the left side here with Wellaby, aka Medico. This has always been a product we love for hospital indemnity, and they've made a lot of changes to make it even better, more accessible to a lot of clients. So your pre-T65ers even with the hospital indemnity GI window. So they went to the hospital, they said, yeah, I had a bunch of costs with that. Like, no worries. With the Wellaby plan, you can get on from 60 to 79. It is the largest window that I have seen with one of these products, as far as a user-friendly window that makes sense for the clientele we're working with.
Yeah.
Especially on hospital indemnity. And take into consideration too, a lot of agents who work with ACA also pair hospital indemnity with those plans. So keep that in mind. I talked to Carrie, if you watch Medicare Cafe, about that. She was like, wait, didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
What do we do with this? So like, consider those. We can have that conversation as well. But what we like to be able to pair that is they have what's called the first diagnosis of cancer insurance. So they don't cover it for a reoccurrence, but they will cover that first diagnosis of that. And with their hospital indemnity plan, that GI window, that also includes any GI questions to get onto a cancer plan.
Yeah.
So
nice.
it helps eliminate the look back period that other carriers have. Now it won't say
That's
like,
great.
I have cancer currently, I get on one of these plans, it's not going to pay you right away. But like I said, eliminates the look back so you can get that insurance for the next time.
Yeah, and that's huge.
Yeah, for sure. And as far as the ease of use, Wellaby's My Enroller is what it's called. Very simple drop downs to pick which products you're doing. So on the screen, you'll see everything listed off. And while you're in hospital indemnity, then it drops down the riders. And you can start adding cancer insurance. You can start adding like a skilled nursing. There's a few different options on there. And the cancer insurance can change how much money they want to put on there. It's a little less customizable than the next one I'll talk about with GTL. However, that gives them the options to get that base coverage. And it's just important to have something outside of, you don't have to have insurance for everything, but you have to have a plan. My other favorite saying is, something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Like if we're worried about it being like too much of a cost, be like, look at a $5,000 cancer plan and be shocked with how cheap those are, even for folks in their 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
$5,000 doesn't seem like it'd go a long way, but then you take a trip to Mayo like myself and you're like, ooh, could have used that extra $5,000. So take that into consideration. Something's better than nothing.
Absolutely.
Let's fire over here to GTL, who does have standalone cancer plans, which Wellaby's is as well. But they do have standalone cancer plans with precision care. But the one that we'll focus on is the Advantage Plus, which is the hospital indemnity plan. So this one, GTL's the GOAT, the greatest of being able to customize, change different things, build exactly what that client wants.
Yep.
And it doesn't stop with hospital indemnity. They have all these different dollar amounts. So you can make it work to the cent of their budget. But it also has the ability to add a cancer rider. Their cancer rider is phenomenal because it also includes a reoccurrence. Like there's an option to add the reoccurrence. There's option to add a skin cancer rider. Like it's just a further step customization. But what I also like to throw out there is you don't have to know all of these riders. You can know what base plans your clients like or what you advise. And then they have brochures. They have different outlines of coverage that can help you explain what these individual riders might be.
Absolutely.
With your focus being on a hospital indemnity and a cancer insurance plan, and then what can we do from there?
Yeah.
The cancer insurance plan, like I said, very customizable with the dollar amounts, very customizable with reoccurrence, skin cancer. So a great overall plan. And then with both these carriers, if maybe they're not on a Medicare Advantage, they have standalone options as well. If you're looking at standalone cancer plans, holler at me, look at our care page. Let's talk through what might work best for you. One of my favorite things to do is kind of not only talk about why you need to be doing this, but what makes the most sense for your agency. Because I might tell agent A that I want to get them set up with, like, let's say Bankers for cancer insurance. But agency B tells me a bunch of information. I'm like, I like the GTL product, I like Bankers, but in your situation, this one makes a little bit more sense for you because these products are all built very similar. They know their competition, they know what they're up against. They try to build very similar plans.
Right.
A lot of them you can line up side by side and be like, that's the same plan.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes. Like, so there's a lot of things to consider when you're looking at that. Either myself and the Care Initiative team can help you out with that. Our agent outreach team is the best at looking at your situation, your portfolio, and then coming up with a solution for what you're asking us about.
Yes, exactly. Love it, love it, love it. Well, guys, we have reached the end here. You guys have been a little quiet. I know, it wasn't too long. If you have any questions lingering, we'll be here for just another minute or so. Throw them in the box here. Let's see. Do you have, oh, I don't think the question is quite finished there. That's okay. Guys, if you have any questions for us after this, we will be receiving a follow-up call and a follow-up email. But that's our number, 800-689-2800. We want to talk to you guys. We want to help you out with this. Like he said, our outreach team, we have a whole team dedicated to making sure that your portfolio is up to your standard. So give us a call if you want to talk about what's going to be the best, especially ancillary products, like what's going to be the best to have on, what's going to be the best to start with, all that sort of stuff. So give us a call. smsteam.net, that's our website. We have lots and lots of resources on there. If you click the training tab, it will take you to our training website. That GTL Elite plan that we just talked about, we have a walkthrough video of the brochure on our training website. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested in learning more about that benefit. But it doesn't mill you through a question in there, but it wasn't fully typed out. So go ahead and if you want to get that answer, go ahead and give us the rest of that there. That way we can chit chat with you. But
I will say this too, on Millie's case, I was actually just talking with Lauren because we were talking cancer insurance. She's part of our Care Initiative as well. So a lot of times there's a lot of collaboration between our agent resources side and our outreach side. So I actually knew Millie's name from this morning where we were talking about cancer insurance. So Millie, I'm sure one of us will be reaching out to you trying to help answer any questions you might have. But that's something I love with this is like we go back and forth talking about ideas and things for different agents that might work better for them.
Yeah.
And again, it's so case by case. I don't want to say like you all should do well to be your GTL. This is the only two options. Like, no, I've got more. There's a lot of things we work with. I don't even know how many carriers we work with anymore, but I've got 5 or 6 suggestions for each of these ancillary products. And it sounds overwhelming. I don't want you to have to take every one of these. We can look at what works best for you, kind of get the most bang for your buck with your contract. So
yes, exactly. Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully you got something good out of this, but be look out for that call and the follow-up email with some resources and whatnot for you. But also check out our events page. We have at least one webinar a week. We have lots of good stuff coming up. So check out our events page. But thank you so much for coming and have a great rest of your morning.
Thanks, guys.